seeing it when you were 10-year-old. How old are you? 21. Okay, we can still fit. I want you to do this exercise. You speak with your partner about how you were seeing your future when you were 10, then when you were 20, and then when you were now. In your case, it will be 10, 20, 21. Is it clear? So we'll have 6 parts, very briefly. When your future, how you saw your future when you were 10, your future when you were now. Okay? 6 parts, very quick. Any question on the exercise? Okay, let's go. Okay, thank you. Bring that to a close. Bring that to a close. Anybody likes to share any highlight from the exercise or what you learned from this exercise? Yes?
Throughout the whole future, it was just getting more positive on both sides. It just kept getting more positive.
More positive. So a more positive perception of the future. That's good.
Hare Krishna. We both realized that at 10, we didn't really think about the future. We were just, children. We were playing. It was now. And as I expressed, to me, the future is I will be old, which meant 40. That was a long time ago. But so then it became 20 was material future for me. And then I became a devotee, and now it's just, my future, stay in ISKCON, do service, and hopefully someday learn to love Krishna.
Beautiful. I'll take this Prabhu over here.
As we grow old, we see ourselves as aspirations are coming more and more, desires and aspirations. At the age of 10, it was less aspiration, than 20, or more aspiration, 30, it has been going. I'm 33 right now.
So we take the last one.
Okay, when I was 10, I wanted to be like my father, a businessman and an academic. He was both. He's growing up. And then when I was 20, I was not yet married. I wanted to be a brahmachari in ISKCON. My father was not too happy about that. But then I got married because I realized I probably shouldn't have been a brahmachari. And then now I'm 43, and my future, I see myself traveling around wherever temples need help and serving ISKCON Srila Prabhupada wherever I can, and making sure that my children, take up Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. So you can see that there is an underlying truth or reality that as time goes on, as we change our body and situations, also our perception of the future changes. Sometimes radically. Sometimes our projections are very different than our previous projections. And so it works not only on the individual level, but also works on the collective, societal, organizational level. You took already this course, Prabhu. Okay. So, there are the simplest way to divide the phases of an organization is in pioneer, rational / administrative, and integration. This is a three-parted division for any organization. Could be religious, could be for profit, could be commercial. There is a pioneer phase. There's a pioneer phase where everything is new, everything is fresh, everything is a new horizon, building new roads, and there's a sense of enthusiasm, spontaneity, and I don't know if I can fix this. There's a sense of great hope. How many of you, when you joined the movement, you felt that, yes, Krishna consciousness will conquer the world within weeks, months? How many of you felt that way? Okay, you see? How many of you feel like this now? You didn't answer the question, or you didn't hear the question? You didn't hear the question? How many of you feel now, right now, today, that ISKCON, Krishna consciousness, will conquer the whole world within weeks or months? No. Okay, you see, so perception of the future in the pioneer state is different. Then what happened is that the priorities becomes different. Then becomes the rational or administrative phase, in which we start thinking, well, we need to protect our properties, we need to make legal arrangements, we need to train people, we need to have a wise administration, we need to take care of everything, including our reputation. And this is from a different course. Thank you. So the sense of the future, the sense of priorities change. Then in the integration state, of course, not all organizations get to the integration state, especially in religious society. Most religious society disappear within the first 100 years. Of 1,000 religious movements that start, 999 don't reach 100,000 followers, and they disappear within 4 generations or 100 years. So only one movement, spiritual movement, religious movement, survives more than 100 years and with more than 100,000 followers. And it will still be a very small movement. But in the integration phase, the pioneer mood and the rational mood join, so you rediscover the idealism, the missionary spirit of the pioneer phase, but in a more organized, in a more mature way. There are also other 3 aspects that in ISKCON we have the institution. The institution means the structure, the temple, the legal ISKCON, the legal entity ISKCON, with its officers, with its temple presidents, zonal secretaries, and so on. Then you have the Guru-Shishya dimension. We call these ecosystems. The Guru-Shishya, Guru-disciple relation, which is the transmission of spiritual knowledge, the taking of initiation, or the giving of shiksha. And then you have the social, the area of ISKCON, the area of our life, which is not covered directly by institution and not covered directly by the Guru Shishya. Say our family, our children, our private bank accounts. So, at the beginning of the movement, historically, everything was almost merged into one, because most devotees lived physically in the institution, lived residentially. They were what we call now temple devotees or ashram devotees, ashram residents. And of course, everybody was guru of the same guru, Srila Prabhupada. And there is no real separate social life. Often, even married people with children will still be in the temple, under the temple president. How many of you have that experience, at least for a few years? Okay, so we have 4 Srila Prabhupada disciples here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I correct? It's such a wealth to have devotees with such a experience and institutional memory. Okay, then as the movement grows, more and more people come. I told them to come at this time so I could include them. So more and more people come in the movement, and so these 3 things becomes a little bit more separated. It's more clear. Now, all of us generally live prominently in one of the 3. We all have engagement in all three. And so they're always somewhat overlapping. But generally, we are prominently engaged, busy, occupied in one of the three, in different phases of our life. So, some of us are more concerned with the institution, the organization, the structure, the legal aspects, or the running of temples. And some of us are more, maybe are not so involved with the responsibility of the temple management, but we are spiritual masters, almost full-time spiritual masters, spiritual guides, shiksha gurus. And of course, there are phases of our life who are focused on our social life. Maybe we are building a house, maybe you're having young children, maybe you're building your economy, and so your focus is in this area. Yes, you have a guru. Yes, you may be going to a temple, but the focus is on this. So as a movement, the way we see our future depends very much also in which ecosystem we are more absorbed in. For instance, if you're in the institution, we may think we want more temples. If you're in Guru Shisha, maybe we think that, the first initiation, I want the second, or I'm expanding the number of relation, people taking shelter. And in the social, of course, we may be building our economy or having children and so on and so forth. So, when we say ISKCON's future isn't what used to be, it means that throughout the stages of ISKCON, both individually as individual devotees and as collectivities, communities, temples, yatras, countries, we see ourselves and the future in different ways. In different ways. I have a few quotes here to share. This is a gentleman called Robert G. Allen. He said, "The future you see is the future you get." Like this Prabhu, Kaunteya prabhu, in the previous edition of this course, he was telling us that his dream was to become a train conductor in Bosnia. He had that aspiration. Now he's a full-time book distributor, but before that was his dream, and he fulfilled that dream. How many of you became train conductors in Bosnia? None of you. Because the future you see is the future you get. Probably you're not growing up thinking of that legitimate aspiration. So you became something different. We became something else. If you don't have a vision for the future, then your future is threatened to be a repeat of the past. The tendency is toward stagnation. The tendency is to continue things as they are. We are doing something today, we'll probably do the same things tomorrow, and that's something that, for instance, affected ISKCON in its footprint, in its presence on the internet stage. We didn't really jump into it because it was not something that we were accustomed doing, was not our habit, was not our experience. So many other organizations are much more developed because it was not something we were doing. And so the danger is that we think of ourselves and on the future just as we see ourselves in the present. If we see ourselves, for instance, as a small ethnic church somewhere in the world to cater to a particular audience of, say, people from Hindu background, and that's what we learn how to do, and we are successful in getting, say, 150 people in a temple every Sunday, and we are okay with that, then there's a very good chance that our future will be simply a repeat of the past. Now, another quote: how you see your future is much more important than what happened in the past. Because whatever is done is done. Whatever is not done is not done. We need to learn from the past, but we should not live in the past. The past is a good place to learn, but it's not a good place to stay. People in passion, they have great aspiration to enjoy something in the future. People in tamas, they always live in the past. And they lament something that didn't happen, or it happened in a way that they did not expect, they did not like. And people in the Sattvaguna, they live in the present, but their living in the present is a present of service. And service means to bring pleasure to the persons that you serve. So there is always an element of planning. What are you going to do now for the future? So today, in the rest of this presentation, I want to focus on a particular aspect of the future that I truly hope ISKCON will focus more in its future. And I'm talking to you as the leaders of today and as the leaders of tomorrow. So let's see. In the wisdom of Nelson Mandela, he was a friend of the devotees. You saw, how many of you saw the Nelson Mandela video dancing on the stage in South Africa? The Food for Life program. Okay, he was a friend of the devotees. The secretary told us he was regularly reading Science of Self-Realization of Srila Prabhupada. And anyway, he said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And if you move to the east, we have this philosopher Confucius, who said, if your plan is for 1 year, plant rice. If your plan is for 10 years, plant trees. If your plan is for 100 years, educate children. And it makes sense. I mean, this, of course, he was talking about a rural society. So in 1 year, if you plant rice, you get the rice. So the cycle is complete. 10 years, you plant trees, like fruit trees. 1 year is too short, but in 10 years, you have this tree giving fruits. But if you want to plant for 100 years, then you need to educate children. And Srila Prabhupada said something similar in the Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto. He says, in our Krishna consciousness movement, the Gurukula plays an extremely important part in our activities, because right from the childhood, the boys of the Gurukula are instructed about Krishna consciousness. Thus, they become steady within the course of their heart. Madan Gopal Prabhu was telling us how the way he's seeing the future is thinking how my children can be in Krishna consciousness. And that was also Srila Prabhupada's meditation. And Srila Prabhupada's recipe was right from childhood. Children go to Gurukula. Gurukula now, we can discuss if they stay at home in the night, or they stay in the Gurukula night. Those are details. But the point that Srila Prabhupada was talking about, a full immersion educational experience. And unfortunately, you were in Gurukul for long. 7 years. And you're nodding energetically. Thank you. So, I'll give you an example. In India, how many of you are from India? Okay. How many temples we have in ISKCON India? More or less. Because they're open every minute, so if you wait till more to wait, you have to add. Yes. How many, more or less? 250. No? Okay, so 250 ISKCON temples in ISKCON India. Congratulations. How many gurukuls? Silence. How many gurukuls? Maybe 10. That's optimistic. Where are these 10?
4 in Mayapur, 1 in Tirupati, 1 in Imphal, and 2 in Bombay. 4.
Okay, let's take this number, which I believe it's a bit conservative, a bit what do you call optimistic, but even take 10. Okay, so you have 250 temples and you have 10 gurukulas. That means you have one gurukula every 25 temples. So obviously we have an issue of perception here. What's more important? People, there is a saying, people succeed at what they measure, right? People succeed at what they measure. What you measure, what you count, is what you succeed at. As you can see, we don't even know, we don't even count them, we can't even measure. So generally as a movement, we are not fulfilling this vision of Srila Prabhupada. And let's see. Now, there's another gentleman who says, if education is beaten by training, civilization dies. The difference between education and training is that, one definition is that education is about character, it's about the finer sentiments, and it's about knowledge. Training is about skills, how to do things, how to build a bridge, how to write a computer program. So when training is more emphasized than education, then the civilization dies. Ugra karma wins. It's a different quote. Education is the transmission of civilization. Obviously, people who don't have that civilization in their heart, they cannot give it to others. There's another quote I want to share. To defend a country, you need an army. But to defend a civilization, you need education. In a very similar way, we could say, to bring people to the Sunday program and to have deity worship, you need temples. But to train, educate the future generations, the children, you need gurukulas, you need schools. See, this is a principle to understand. Any society, materialistic or religious, modern or old, has certain values, certain priorities. And through their education, they perpetuate those values. So a certain society creates a certain education so that people can be prepared to take a role in that society. And it's a cycle. Education prepares, produces, creates a certain type of people which fit in a certain society. And in the quote from the Bhagavatam we saw, if Krishna is deeply in the heart of the children, then they will stay in Krishna consciousness all their life. Then if they need skills, they can go to colleges, they can go to university, but they will already have that love inside the heart. So that association will not affect them very much. But if we send them, if we delegate that education to non-devotees, it will be very, very hard for them to have that deep faith and that bhakti right from the beginning. So Srila Prabhupada not only spoke about education, but he put a lot of energy. He created schools, he created gurukuls, he gave a lot of instructions. This is a letter from 72. If you become headmaster of the Gurukul, this is the most important post in pushing on this movement. Why is the most important post? Who can think? Why is the most important post? There are so many posts. Why is the most important post?
Because the children is the future.
Thank you. Very good. Who likes to expand on that? Yes?
As the head of the school, you will shape the policy and the direction in which the school is going to go. You could emphasize certain things and de-emphasize certain things, and that'll actually drive where these children will end up in the next 50 years.
Very good. So you're building. You're in a way you're doing some social engineering. You're shaping the minds, and if their minds are sharp, are clear, they're pure, you have people who are pure, and they will influence society because they are pure, and society will see these people are pure. These people are attached to God. So Srila Prabhupada actually wanted these schools, invested in these schools. You see, Srila Prabhupada with the Gurukul children, this is not photoshopped. These are real children and real Srila Prabhupada. We didn't just Photoshop the mean to give you a sense. So, let's read this. This is the most important verse or purport I want to share today. Who likes to read this?
Any 5-year-old child can be trained, and within a very short time his life will become successful by realization of Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, this training is lacking all over the world. It is necessary for the leaders of the Krishna consciousness movement to start educational institutions in different parts of the world to train children, starting at the age of 5 years. Thus, such children will not become hippies or spoiled children of society. Rather, they can all become devotees of the Lord. The face of the world will then change automatically. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Okay. So these are strong statements directly in the Bhagavatam. So it's not a private letter that you may say, well, he was encouraging a disciple. No, these are there, are public statement, documents for 10,000 years. The face of the world will change automatically because you'll have a generation of people with a different mentality, with a different outlook about themselves, about the future, about the world. And this will be noticed. I was talking with a Maharaj from South America, and he said, I'm doing some preaching in Colombia, I'm bringing people, in the Sunday we do a little yoga, we do little mantras, and there was a Gurukul student who was originally from South America, but he spent so many years here in Gurukul. He said just by him being present, he was doing some yoga, he was doing a little preaching, he was preparing things, people were so impressed about the culture that this person had. Just by moving around, people could see this person comes from a different place, psychologically, spiritually. So, Srila Prabhupada wanted this, and especially this is the ILS, and therefore I want to stress this. It is necessary for the leaders of the Krishna consciousness movement to start educational institutions in different parts of the world to train children starting at the age of 5 years. Unfortunately, very often we do other things. It's very noble, very sacred to establish temples, but without schools, it's not really complete. You know, there is so much talk about 3G, 4G, 5G, right? No? So you have temples which are 3G. 3G temple means you have gift shop, Govinda, and guest house. That's 3G temple. Then you have Then you have the 4G temple. You had Goshala. But then you have the 5G temple, the temple of the future. You had Gurukula. So that's a 5G temple. You like that? Oh, thank you. So this is, I mean, I don't have a particularly personal idea. This is what Srila Prabhupada say. I believe in it. I believe in it. I believe that we should start these educational institutions. Personally, I spent 6 years of my life, maybe the best years of my life, in Gurukul, teaching Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, other things. But anyway, I believe in this, that the face of the world will then change automatically when you have so many boys and girls who really grew up in Krishna consciousness and they have this love for Krishna. And this love for Krishna is the goal of the Krishna consciousness movement. And when these people go around, people will perceive these people are different. There's something in their eyes, there's something in their heart, there's something different in their mind, and people will be attracted to them. So, if you're leaders in the Krishna conscious movement, my aim is not to make you feel guilty. My aim is to make you feel very guilty. Anyway, so this was the introduction to the theme. Any questions, any comment, any desire to explore it more? Yes, Maharaj.
Because we are short of manpower and resources, there is a idea that the schools that are already existing, why don't we systematically go there and do classes like that?
Well, not trying to make fun, but we could also say we're short in manpower and resources, and there are so many kitchens. Why don't we just go and cook there? Or there are so many temples, demigod worshippers temple. Why don't we just go and worship there? Once one gentleman in India told Srila Prabhupada, but there are so many vacant temples in India. Why do you want your own temples? Why you built your own temples? So Srila Prabhupada said, well, there are also many children loitering around, orphans in the streets. Why are you having your own children? So we need schools which are centered on Krishna. Of course, if you can make people who are already running schools Krishna conscious, that's good. But let me question your premise. You started the question, Maharaj, by saying we are shortage of manpower and we are short of resources, right? But you meaning you and the other leaders of India have built 250 temples, and some are worth millions and millions of dollars, right? And so you found the manpower to build temples. You found the money to build temples. You built an outstanding temple in Nellore. How much you spent?
3 crores.
3 crores. That's cheap. I mean, because you used it very, what do you call? Very conservatively, very soberly, very frugally. But still, it's 3 crores. And let me add something. A school doesn't need all the marbles and all the domes and all the altars and all this and that. The school can be very, very simple. In fact, Srila Prabhupada said that one teacher can teach to hundreds of students. You know that quote? How many of you know that quote? You know or you don't know? You know. Okay, so let me show it to you, because sometimes people say, no, Srila Prabhupada said this and that. We could write a book what Srila Prabhupada said that he never said, right? And then we could probably also write another bigger book, say what Srila Prabhupada said that he didn't even dream to say. Okay, I want to show you this quote. This is from my presentation at the last ILS. It was entitled Varnashrama without Gurukul, it's only a hobby. That is the way of Indian teaching. That there is one teacher, and how is he managing hundreds? That means there are groups. One elderly student is taking some beginners. Write A or A like this. Probably meant long and short A, like in Sanskrit. But A or A like this. That he can teach. What he has learned, he can teach. Similarly, next group. So in this way, one teacher can manage hundreds of students of different categories. This is organization. So when we talk about manpower, in terms of school, we only need one person, the right person. I strongly believe if there is the will, there is the way. I see devotees all over the world doing things which are materially impossible. And so if we look for this person who can teach 100 students, we will find it. But if you don't look for it, for him or for her, we'll not find it. So really, Maharaj, I submit at your feet that there's really not a question of resources. That's my job, Maharaj. It's not really a question of resources, and it's really not a question of quantity of manpower. You're one real Brahmana, a person who loves to educate children. Hundreds of children can be educated. And the idea here is very modern in its efficacy and efficiency, because you have the elder students, they directly hear from the teacher, then they repeat to the next level. So they have to repeat, they reiterate, they reinforce the learning. Then the next level, they become very, very, very strong in all the subjects. And you don't need many people. Complaint.
There is no demand for such education. Parents are no more interested in Western kind of education, at least in India.
Certainly, Maharaj, but think of Nellore. Was there a demand for an ISKCON temple? Was there people protesting in the street with big signs? We want an ISKCON temple. We want an ISKCON temple. We are going to strike if you don't open an ISKCON temple. There was no demand for ISKCON. They had their own, they have this beautiful Garbhodakashayi Vishnu temple, and they have demigod worship temple. They didn't want ISKCON. There's no demand for ISKCON, but then you go there, you create the demand, you create the market. How many of you distribute books? How many of you distributed in the past or distribute books now? Okay, is there demand? How many times, maybe once or twice in your life, how many times people stop? Do you have a book on Vedic literature? You create the interest, you create the demand, you create the market. So you're a preacher, Maharaj. So you create the importance in the mind of your parents. Say, look, this is important for your child. This is your duty. This is your dharma as a father, as a mother, to give a Krishna conscious society and solution to your child. I want to show another quote. What was that? Look, Srila Prabhupada, this is a Gurukul inspection in Vrindavan. There must be 500 students. Now your business is bring students. Before going to the foreign countries, I had a very bad experience. I asked so many men to give students, Vedic students. Swamiji, we have to earn money. Nobody wants that the children should be honest, Brahmana, Brahmachari. Nobody wants. So Srila Prabhupada is confirming your point. There's no demand. Our congregation may not ask you, Maharaj, please, open a Gurukul, please. No, but it was just for emphasis. So, so your business is to bring students. Am I correct, Maraj? There is no demand. There is no market. We have to create the market. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, do you have any suggestions in GBC to have certain number of ISKCON school? Do you have any suggestion in GBC members or GBC board or the regions to have certain number of school in our Krishna conscious in certain region of ISKCON?
ISKCON is very decentralized. The GBC is not at the stage, is not going to say you open schools here, open schools there. It's a question of values. It's a question of your sense of priority. It's a question of your mental models. You follow? There is something like an iceberg. If you want to understand organizations, this is an iceberg, and this is what you see. We'll call it events. This is what happens. Everybody can see, right? The tempo comes up, some book distribution goes in. You can see this, the events, what happened. But below, the next stage below, which creates the events, are the trends. Are the patterns of behavior that create the events. Are you with me? Okay. Now those trends are created by systems. The Gurukul is a system. Okay? It's a system. School is a system. Okay? Now, what creates those systems? The mental models. Mental models. We can translate that as values. We can attitudes. Beliefs, yes. Priorities. You see, we started with the concept that how you see your future, you create that future. If we don't see a certain future, we're not created. First, we have to see it. Just like you came at the ILS. Many people did not come. But you came at the ILS. You saw a possibility. For you, it was not easy. For you, who came specifically for the ILS? Okay. Okay, so you made a plan, you bought the ticket, you got on the flight or on the train, and you came to the ILS. You saw the potentiality. That was your mental model. And then you connected to a system, an airplane, a train, whatever, how you came. And then, of course, that creates a trend. And then there is the event, the ILS, in this case. So all we need is imbibing this idea. Srila Prabhupada, there must be 500 students. And how do you create this culture? We could call this culture also. By talking about these things. How many of you heard speaking about Gurukul in the last year of Bhagavatam class you heard? Raise your hand if in 1 year of Bhagavatam class you heard about Gurukul. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In 1 year. Okay? What does it mean? We don't talk about Gurukul. We don't talk about schools. And if we don't talk about that, obviously we don't create a mental model, and we don't create systems, and we don't create trends, and we don't create the events. We do something else. We have other mental models, other priorities. They may be sacred. They may be noble. They may be authorized. I'm not delegitimizing all the other devotional efforts. But when I read Srila Prabhupada as an author, his idea for the revolution was to work on the children. Yes, we get people who are already adults. We need to process them. We need to work with them. But in one sense, the real work is to start from the beginning. That's how civilization is maintained and created and transmitted. You had your hand up.
Haribo, normally we think about that we must to have a temple before, a community, and then we can open a Gurukuli. Okay. But what about if we go in a place without a temple and we start to open a place for the children to give service for the parents around and we have no a community there, but we can approach and build a community giving instruction and education.
Yes, you see, that's another mental model. We may think first we need the temple. Then when the temple is there, the community is there, the congregation is there, we open a school. Actually, our observations all over the world is that when you open a school, then all the parents flock there. That's our experience, 50 years of ISKCON, that's what we see. You open a school, parents go and bring the children. Because parents, responsible parents, Krishna conscious parents, they look for the education, they meditate on the education of the children. If they know there is a school in Lachwa, in Mayapur, somewhere, they go there, they flock there. That's the secret to build a community. How many of you have a similar experience? You open the school and people flock to the community. No? No, yes. Yes, yes, I've seen it. Alachua, for instance, people go. Why they go? Because there's a school. So yes, your point is very good. So again, it's a question of mental model, system, trends, and events. Whom should I take? Who wants to ask any question? One. What time is it, by the way? Okay.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for in this model, Prabhuji, when you are saying that mental models and then systems. When you talk about system, there is level 1, level 2, level 3. I mean, we need a blueprint for developing a Gurukul or opening a school.
Yes, yes. If there is the will, there is the way. It's like Nityananda Shai Prabhu here, temple president in Badukar. No, Haryana is the state, but Bahadurgarh, temple president Bahadurgarh, beautiful temple. It was on the cover of the Indian BTG some time back. So he is also one of our main Bhakti Vriksha trainers. You gave a course here, right? How many of you went to his course on Bhakti Vriksha? Only you. Okay. So anyway, you got an idea, right? A few years ago, you didn't know about Bhakti Vriksha, but you came to the ISKCON Leads, you got the idea, then together with your colleagues, they started, and you got some basic ideas, and then you created a system, right? How you get people in, how you train them, how you engage them, how you move them up, right? But the first thing is that you felt, yes, this system of Bhakti Vriksha, or small groups, meeting at home, being trained regularly, being engaged in preaching, first of all, you accepted the idea. You follow? So first idea, the core concept, here. And then you create a system. You have groups, you have groups training for each group leader, then you have training for the group supervisors and so on. So first of all, is to get the idea. If there is the will, there is the way. So I'm not going to say in 5 minutes how you do step by step. You need first of all the desire, and Krishna can send you the one person, the one Brahmana couple that can just run the school. Huh? You have that. Okay. What is the next step? Srila Prabhupada explained that in the Bhagavad Gita. Every initiative, every enterprise needs land. You got to put the school somewhere. If you have a very big temple, you can start with some rooms. Okay? Then of course you have to consider the laws of the country. Right? You cannot just open any school. Then you need land, you need organization, then you need intelligence, and then you need resources. That's a fundamental answer. It's right there in Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter. And then you develop. You talk with people who knows. We have this, how many of you took advantage of this one-on-one advising for strategic planning? How many of you been to this booth? Okay, if you just next door after this map of the world, there is a tent. There are professionals who are offering free service. You have an idea, and they tell you step by step how to put it into practice. So after this, you can go there and say, look, I want to open a school. What are the steps? Okay? But the first thing is the desire. Anything else?
Just if let's say we start off with in the temple we have the Sunday school to start off with, and then there's more and more children coming in now, growing nicely. So then how we go about to start a school in a country like Australia, which is very strict?
Something is better than nothing. Something is better than nothing, but it's not what Srila Prabhupada had in mind. No. It's great if you preach to people, they start chanting 1 round, 2 rounds. It's great, right? Great. 1 round, 2 rounds. They stop eating meat. They still eat some eggs in the cookies or something. It's great. It's great. But that's not the perfection. You want them to come to first initiation, second initiation, right? So similarly, yes. Every temple should have a Sunday school, at least, but that's just part of it. What the children will do in the next 6 days of the week. So Srila Prabhupada was talking about full immersion. So I'm not discounting your effort. I'm not discounting the Sunday school, but it's not enough to create a civilization. Yeah, you need to go to the next step. Last question, last comment. What time is it, please? Sorry, my watch stopped working. We have 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Who likes to have the honor of the last question? He just photo finish. He was 1 second earlier.
Well, I guess since we're talking so much about the Gurukulas, I guess my question is how successful are our Gurukulas in terms of the children becoming long-term Vaishnavas as opposed to what we saw in the very beginning was quite disastrous.
Yes, it's a fact that we don't have a very good record. Our first 5 decades in education were not a good record. But let's consider this. Our marriages generally also don't have a good record. Right? But people still enthusiastically get married. Do you see anybody in ISKCON who says, I would like to get married, but so many divorces, better I stay brahmachari, better I stay brahmacharini, The first years of our movement, our gurus had quite a disastrous batting rate. Okay? But still people enthusiastically take initiation. People don't see people saying, well, so many, in the past, in the 80s, so many gurus fell down. Let me not take initiation. So similarly in India, there were some temples stolen by Ritviks. Right? You build a temple, then the Ritvik stole it. But people still enthusiastically build temples. So, what I'm trying to emphasize is that for certain things, the past doesn't count for us. So, but for the Gurukul, we say, well, so many problems in the past, let's not do it anymore. So it's a fact, we need to learn from the past, but we also need to go beyond the past. So it's a fact. And my experience is that when there is a very deep attention, energy, interest, dedication to the project, the results are very good. One GBC we have who came from Gurukul, for instance. And how many boys and girls, they grew up in Gurukul, here in Mayapur, different style, Gurukul for girls, Gurukul for boys, and they're very fixed up devotees. Sometimes preachers, sometimes very stable grihastas. So even if you create a very stable couple of grihastas who can be exemplary for their children and stay in Krishna consciousness all their life, that's already result. So there are results. The problem is that we don't talk much about them. We don't hear Gurukul stories. We hear other stories, other success stories. Tell us, let's close with a Gurukul success story. Tell us a Gurukul success story.
I'm not.
Okay, there was some progress, so you can describe the progress.
Okay, yes. I was born in Mayapur and I grew up in Mayapur. My parents are from South America. And for the first 14 years of me being here in Mayapur, then I went to many different schools, the international school, also the national school, ISKCON National School, Bhaktivedanta National School. And I got I learned a lot, but I also got sort of I learned the most from Gurukul. When I was 14, I joined Gurukul, and I found that I could say the best time of my whole life then was those years in Gurukul, and I appreciate them, and I wouldn't never exchange those years for anything else. I very much appreciate all my teachers, specifically one, His Holiness Bhakti Arjava Pritivardhan Swami, and he really saved me, and he's serving many students and helping, and he's always willing to put as much time and energy into any student, and he's really the most helpful person to me.
Thank you. So that's a future we want to have for every child in our movement. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.